All right. Hey, how's it, everybody? It is right around 5 p.m. West Coast time. I'm going to call it 2 p.m. Hawaii time, 8 p.m. on that there East Coast, and 7 p.m. for our Central Time folk. I am Matt Statter. This is Chatter Statter, and oh my goodness, what is going on with my hairs? My hairs are going everywhere. That's okay. So, Pecola Tea in the Pacific Northwest, just down the street from my house. It looks like at SeaTac on this blue-skied Pacific Northwest day. That is true indeedly-do. It's a little bit chilly, but it's still got blue skies. October 1st, we haven't started the big wet yet, but I predict the big wet will probably be starting in about 5 or 6 days. All right, so Mama Sean bragging about how she's got some stir fry, so she might have to be lurking. All right there, Mama Sean, I dare say that that is a pretty good excuse. I had myself some stir fry last night as well. Mighty tasty that is. Oh my, oh my. Not only is my hair all messed up, I got smudgy glasses and everything. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to get the party started. I'm going to clean myself up, and then I'm going to come back and say hello to everybody who's here because we got people in the house. We had raiders, etc. So let's do this little Black Cat intro that we've got. Boop. Alrighty, now I can see out my eyes even though my hair is still everywhere, but we'll deal with that later. Anyway, looks like we've got Lady Misty in the house, and I think she might have been the first one saying hello to the Statter crew. Michael Anthony Smith also in the house with a birthday tomorrow, so happy pre-birthday there, Michael Anthony Smith. I'm sure somewhere in the world it already is your birthday, so let's just pretend we're there. Happy birthday, my friend. Good to see you here. And it looks like we had a raider come on in. That would be Terry in Scotland. I'm guessing Pinnell, I'm guessing DJ Smook. I don't know if Katie's Aura is here, so let me scroll on up, because right now I'm just going by memories. And let's see here, DJ Smook, Pinnell, Darlene, of course, in the house. So good to see Darlene. I'm thinking Rick might be somewhere following as well. And let's see here, we've got Mama Sean, but we already knew about Mama Sean. She got that stir fry. And let's see here, what else? Terry in Scotland, Lady Misty, Mama Sean, Terry in Scotland, Mariana. Oh my goodness. How are you? Been like forever. If I remember correctly, you you had a couple little kids there, and I'm surprised you've got time here to be lurking. You're in your home stretch of schooling, excellent, and just life in general. Cool. I'm glad to know that you're still finishing up with that schooling. I'm assuming you're still in the Florida area, and that means I have to ask you, are you okay? I'm assuming you're okay, because you're here. But the whole Helene thing, it sounds like you were in a safe zone? I hope so. I know that Puzzycat was. Puzzycat might not be here today, but he's another one of our Florida folk. And let's see here, Pinnell, did I say hello to you, Pinnell? If I did not say hello, I meant to. And Ashes, Dusty, and Leo are also going to say hello to you as well, even though they're snoozling in the backyard. And let's see here, Verity Hunt coming in going, woot! That's right. And then Katie is having internet problems. We're thinking it might be her modem that's faulty. Oh, yeah, usually when I have internet problems, it's not the problem of the internet, it's the problem of the machinery trying to absorb the internet, i.e. the modem. And yeah, I know that's not really what modems do, but I'm just gonna say the modems absorb the internet. That's how it works. Sort of. All right, you guys, I don't have a whole lot to talk about today. But it does sound like we might be listening to Lono's That's What She Does, what with the comment that Pecola Tea just made, puree, grave. I gotta say, you know, those cooking terms never made me blush before, but that song, Yep, that song, that's what it does. Makes me blush. Oh my. Anyway, for those of you who don't know or remember, Lono Music is the provider of all the tunes you hear here on this channel. You can feel free to download his music at lonomusic.com, or if you don't feel like downloading his music and you just want to listen to it, go check him out on YouTube at username CalPe'ePe'e. But if you don't know how to spell that, just YouTube search Lono Music and it will take you right there. And Mariana, come in. I'm okay. I wouldn't have been if we had not moved more inland last year. My former coastal town was flooded. My mother-in-law's house, car, and most of her belongings completely destroyed. Oh, wow. Well, fortuitous move last year, it sounds like then. I'm glad to know that you're okay. And I'm glad to know that your mother-in-law will be okay. Obviously, super stressful when you've lost everything. On the other hand, you know, there's a little bit of freedom. What with that saying, free is just another word for nothing left to lose. But, you know, there is a little bit of freedom with all that. So hopefully she will take the blessings that are left to her and carry on. But yeah, God, that's just so awful to have to deal with. And you know what, DJ Smook? I think I saw you, and I don't know if I said hi to you. I might have. I might have mentioned you came in with the Raiders, now that I think about it. But in case I didn't, hey, DJ Smook, good to see you. And let's see here. Terry in Scotland. Ooh, he's got great news, because prior to now, Terry's budget has been a little bit tight. But it turns out, as it turns out, holy crumb. Turns out, okay, so for those of us in the United States, there's this thing that Terry's talking about called the council tax, which I'm like, what in the flying fork is that? Basically, it's his utilities, okay? This, for the most part, what it is. And the kind of housing that he has is publicly owned and funded or whatever, so his utilities go to this South Lancashire Council. And they have determined that he has overpaid them. That's the most awesome news ever. But what's even more awesome, actually, is I won't have to pay rent or council tax for the rest of the year. And they owe him a £700 refund. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. You guys, like, that is amazingly wonderful. Like, you should, Terry, I'm not trying to tell you how to live your life, but I do think that you owe yourself 2 bottles of beer, or maybe even 4 bottles of beer. That is worthy of a cheers moment. And no, it's not my birthday. It's not my birthday. My birthday's in June. It's Michael Anthony Smith's birthday. Sorry about that confusion, Darlene. No, Michael Anthony Smith's birthday tomorrow, but because it's already tomorrow someday, I mean, it's already tomorrow now, somewhere, is what I meant to say. It's already tomorrow somewhere. So we're going to pretend it's tomorrow today, and it's Michael Anthony Smith's birthday today. Did you guys follow that? Because I'm not sure I followed it, and I'm the one who said it, but I knew what I meant. So let's just pretend we're in Australia. If we're in Australia, it's Michael Anthony Smith's birthday today. There we go. That's what I'm trying to say. And yeah, Darlene, I had a feeling it was a Mr. Bridgebrush. I didn't think that you thought that it was my birthday, but you might have. But either way, not my birthday. Birthday in June. My birthday's on a national holiday that nobody celebrates in June, so figure that one out. My birthday is also Boy George's birthday. My birthday is also Donald Trump's birthday, but most importantly, my birthday is my birthday. And Terry in Scotland, have I ever played Sea of Thieves with a drunken sailor? I don't know. Have I ever played Sea of Thieves as a drunken sailor? You of all people should know. The answer is, oh yeah. And so and let's see. Whoa, I just did something I did not mean to do. Sorry about that. Okay, so Mariana says, her neighborhood is like a post-apocalyptic movie scene. Houses are empty, destroyed, belongings on the curb. Makes me wonder why we choose to live here sometimes. Yeah, you know, Mariana, I think that you're not the only person who's starting to wonder if it's worth the risks, you know, because I was actually literally right before the stream reading about how in the last 30 years there has been a significant migration on coastal low-lying areas in areas like Galveston, Texas, and certain areas of Florida where people are just realizing that it's become too expensive to live there. Not necessarily the cost of living per se, but the cost of the rebuild, the cost of the insurance, the cost of all the other stuff typely thing. And so I think that you definitely were wise to maybe, get a little higher on the ground, a little further inland, as it were, because, I guess with a storm like Helene, it didn't really matter how far inland you were. Asheville, North Carolina is just wrecked. Atlanta looked like it was gonna be wrecked. Sounds like maybe it's not nearly as bad as some of the places up in the mountains in the Appalachians, but that one tracked inland farther than I think most people are used to. Obviously, I don't live in an area where there's the hurricanes, so I don't really know, but to my recollection and memory and knowledge, dude, I don't really recall hearing many towns in Tennessee or North Carolina ever getting wrecked by a hurricane. But I hear it now. Obviously, people who are older than me and know better than me might be like, oh, you don't even know. There was this, there was that, the other. And then there was this, and then there was that. And then how did you even forget this other thing? Well, I did apparently or something. Yeah, North Carolina got slammed. Totally, dude. And oh good, Michael Ann Smith, your girlfriend and your daughter are going to have pizza tomorrow. Yummy. And DJ Smoke, there's another hurricane coming on the same track as Helene. Well, hopefully it's smaller. I get you're monitoring it here in Southwest Texas. Yeah, totally. And Mariana, yeah, it's a good point. Hurricanes do go over land, and I guess most places do have some sort of natural disaster. Yes. And Pinnell even points out one of the wrecked places was supposed to be a climate haven. So it got super far in. And yeah, exactly. Helene was too big. It was so huge. I think that's really what the strange thing was. it was a category 4, which is an issue. But it was also just so huge. As DJ Smoke pointed out, Helene was absorbing other storms as well. Helene was just a greedy little, she wanted it all for herself. Yeah, then she was going to give it all to North Carolina, apparently. She hoarded all the gold and then dumped it one place. Funny you should mention the natural disasters there, Mariana, because in the Pacific Northwest, we have two particular natural disasters that are the biggest looming threats. One of them is, of course, the earthquakes, which are the more dangerous and likely event. But the other is, of course, the volcanoes. And as it turns out, this particular week or so, we were under a little bit of a fear that one of our volcanoes was starting to get active again. And in that particular fear, or that particular fear was spurred by this smell that went across state lines. It was a huge swath of the area that just stunk. And well, here is a little bit of a news story about the smell and how it relates to Mount St. Helens. So here we go. Let's watch it. Boop.
The view of Mount.
I wish I could answer that, and thousands of people watching would like to know what that smell was. Now, this smell really started yesterday evening, right around 6 o'clock. We're almost 24 hours past, and a lot of people throughout the metro area and throughout Southwest Washington were complaining about this, but officials still have no idea where it came from or what the smell was. When something smells a little off, you can usually find the source. But what people were smelling Tuesday night was something different.
It was almost had more of an ammonia smell to it than just
paper mill sludge, and it just got stronger and stronger, and we had to close all the windows in our house.
There were reports of people smelling a strange smell outdoors from as far north as Kelso.
It was some kind of decaying organic material.
All the way down to Wilsonville, some nearly 50 miles away. There were lots of theories about what it could have been, from gases coming from Mount St. Helens.
Anytime you have a rotten egg smell, you have two choices. In the Pacific Northwest, number one is outgassing from a volcano, and it's very, very common. And the only active vent from a volcano that we have around us is Mount St. Helens.
That was quickly discounted by officials. Portland Fire and Rescue went on nearly a dozen calls about the smell.
Rolled the window down and drove around with their sniffers out, but weren't able to really find or detect a cause. It was noted that there was a scent in the air, but no definitive source.
Rick Graves with Portland Fire and Rescue said his crews use these gas monitors.
And it gives us an alert if there is concentrations of concern.
And everything came back normal. The most calls came from Southwest Washington in Cowlitz County, where Fire Chief Vic Letzow chased down as many possible scenarios as possible.
We've worked with the pipelines, be it Williams, Cascade, KB. We've been working with the industrial folks, be it Weyerhaeuser, Nippon, Dyno Noble, Lanxess, U.S. Coast Guard.
Now the mystery smell seems mostly gone, but the question as to where it came from remains unanswered.
We can't find a source. And we're as frustrated as everybody else.
Now, Tim and Stephanie, a lot of frustration out here throughout Southwest Washington, all the way down into the Portland metro area as well. Now, we're in Klamath right now for our live report, and we can't smell anything, nor could we earlier today. That rain kind of probably helped the situation out a little bit. But I did speak with a woman earlier this afternoon who was running errands out in Longview in Southwest Washington just a few hours ago. She said she could definitely still smell whatever that was. And again, the fire chief with Cowlitz County Fire told me they're still working on what the smell was and where it originated from. They're working with the EPA to help them determine what happened. Back to you.
All right, Joe. Interesting.
Oops, hold on. There we go. So, yeah, I know the fact that the source remains a mystery is definitely disturbing, but I can definitely appreciate what Terry was saying in regards to outgassing himself. Okay, first off, y'all, here's a reality check. Women and girls, we fart, okay? We do. For those of you who think that girls don't fart, we do. And this one time, I was driving in my car, and I had to use the restroom. And I knew where there was a good restroom to use, so I pulled in the parking lot to go use the restroom. But as I left my car, was getting out of my car, I passed some gas. Turns out it was a significant portion of gas. It was some gas. And I shut my car door, and I went in, and I did my business. And then I came back out to my car, and I opened my car door, and I almost died, y'all. Oh my God, I blew myself. I mean, I think my hair got blown back with the gas explosion that came out of that car. I was gagging. I had to roll my windows down and drive fast on the freeway to clear out whatever bomb I dropped in my own car. It was, oh God, it was noxious. I didn't mean to hotbox myself like that, but boy, oh boy, did I. And the funny thing is I'd completely forgotten about the little, the little poof that I left as I shut the car door behind me, not thinking that I locked the entire stench into the car to ferment for 5 or 10 minutes. Ah! Whoo, boy, howdy. It was, yeah, it was, it left a mark, shall we say. And, yeah, I know, right, Terry? Good thing I hadn't fired one up because I would have just blown up, nobody light a match kind of thing. Poof, blown up into the air, and speaking of blowing up, so it did remind me, this whole thing, of what Mount St. Helens has done and will be doing. And so coincidentally, just about last week, C Honda sent me this video, and exactly, yes, we've all been stinky at one time or another, exactly. And for those of you who don't know or remember, Mount St. Helens is a volcano in Southwest Washington, and it used to be a huge volcano, and now it's like not so much. So this is a picture of Mount St. Helens with what it looks like now in the background, and in the foreground is what it used to look like before May 18th, 1980. And so that's what it used to look like. The eruption basically got rid of a third of the mountain. It was kind of a big deal. But here is a video that I had never seen before until C Honda sent it my way. And yes, he used to have a beautiful, pristine Spirit Lake at the base of St. Helens, no longer in existence. But this little video, little news clip from Mount St. Helens, probably like May 15th, May 14th, 1980. So this is literally a few days before it erupted. So let's check out this news clip from before, well, from the before time, as it were.
The view of Mount St. Helens is now startling. A month of eruptions has covered the mountain with a heavy layer of dark gray ash. Deep cracks now cover the volcano, cracks that could mean a violent eruption is near. We circled the mountain several times, looking for a solid spot to land the helicopter. We finally put down about 50 feet from the lip of the crater. The helicopter sank several inches in the thick mud. Geologist Tom Benson from Portland State University was with us, picking up samples of ash and rock. He says the ash on the rim is now more than a foot thick. Mount St. Helens appears to be quiet now. Steam still rises from the pit of the crater.
Earthquakes are continuing on the mountain. We can't tell how strong they are, but they've opened up deep cracks only about 5 feet from the edge of the volcano.
The crater appears to be about 300 feet deep, and a small lake has formed on the bottom from the melting ice and snow. The crater is several thousand feet wide. The top of the mountain has actually expanded about 300 feet, which could mean that molten lava is moving up through the volcano. And if the mountain explodes, ice, snow, and rock could break loose in a single huge avalanche, destroying everything in its path down to Spirit Lake.
This ledge we're on looks sort of precarious, is it?
Just mildly, yeah. If you look right behind you, if you'll drop down, you see this little scarp right here. That's where the ledge we're on has dropped a couple of feet lately.
Is this eventually going to fall into the pit, the
I think
crater?
possibly, yes.
The quiet on the mountaintop could be the calm before the storm. Our cameraman Phil Beard made his way to the rim of the volcano for a spectacular view.
Would it be wise for him to move back a little bit?
Well, put it this way, I'd stand about 1 foot this side of where he's standing. Because this is basically ash over snow.
And that's
It's
not
going
very
to
stable.
keep right on coming down, right, sure. You can see some more of it coming down over there right now. You think I'm kidding? I'm not.
Scientists say the mountain is growing more and more unstable, actually tilting toward the north. For all of us, the view from the top of the mountain was exhilarating.
You know, it's a once-in-a-lifetime deal. It's great. For a geologist, you know, it's about the best thing you can get.
It's an absolutely terrifying experience standing on the edge of a volcano. A volcano scientists say could explode at any minute. But it's also a beautiful experience, an absolutely incredible experience. One of those things that most people can only dream about. And for all of that, it's worth it. On the volcano at Mount St. Helens, Stan Wilson reporting, Channel 2 News.
And a few days later, this is what happened to the mountain that man was standing on. As you can see, it's not a typical eruption. It goes sideways as much as it goes north. And so, or excuse me, as much as it goes up. And I know, Darlene, I'm a chicken. All I know is I would not have been there. And yeah, and these photos are just absolutely incredible. And so this is St. Helens, like I said, basically then in the picture and roughly now. But actually now it's a little bit different because it is still active. Check this out, dude. Do you see the mini volcano growing in the crater of the volcano? This has happened in the last 20 or so years. We are literally able to watch Mount St. Helens rebuild itself in real time. That crater used to be nothing but a crater, and now I'm sure you can see the cinder cone in the middle of that crater. And you might notice a steam and ash plume coming from that cinder cone, because occasionally that cinder cone does do what it does and it grows a little bit. It's crazy, you guys. Mount St. Helens is the most active volcano in the state of Washington. Although, as everyone is explaining to Mariana, and I will continue on with this, Mount St. Helens is not the closest volcano to Seattle. The closest volcanoes to Seattle are Mount Rainier and I believe Mount Baker. Mount St. Helens is in the southwest Washington, and you would see it, say, on the way to Portland, Oregon, and it's definitely close to Vancouver, Washington. Seattle is much further north, and as Mama Sean said, it's about 75 miles as the crow flies. But in the state of Washington, we have, along the Cascades, the Cascade Mountain Range, which is what divides the east side of the state from the west side. We have, let's see, we've got Mount Baker, we've got Mount St. Helens, we've got Mount Rainier, we've got Mount Adams, and we've got one other mountain whose name escapes me and I don't remember off the top of my head. But we have 5 volcanoes, all of which are still considered active in our state. But like I said, the Mount St. Helens is the most obviously active one. As you can see, it's actually growing in real life, in real time. Hey, Thomas and Turtle, so good to see you. We're talking a little bit about Mount St. Helens and how it's still a scary little volcano there. Now, Mount St. Helens, without a doubt, we've seen the destruction that it can cause. And if it did have a major explosion now, I don't think we'd see nearly the destruction that we saw in 1980, because there isn't nearly the mass of material to go exploding and traveling down the mountain in the river stream, in the riverbeds, etc., like that first explosion. The real mountain that people are worried about in Washington State in regards to civilizations getting affected by its explosion would be Mount Rainier. Because Mount Rainier would basically, if it had a major catastrophe, most likely Olympia, through all the communities from Olympia through up to Tacoma and Federal Way are in a direct river path already from Rainier. So that's where a lot of the landslides, lahars, and the damage would be coming through. Seattle would probably not be too damaged directly. That being said, the damage to the area around Seattle would be so devastating that obviously Seattle would be affected by proxy. And then, of course, you've got the ash plumes, which you never know exactly which direction the ash plume is going to go because it depends on the wind at the time. Like I believe it was Verity pointed out, Mount St. Helens ash even got as far down as Southern California. Mount Baker would be bad too. Yeah, Mount Baker would be worse for the people a little bit more north. Seattle, luckily, because we've got the lakes, the lake between Seattle and the mountain, I feel like Bellevue would get more brunt than Seattle would, but obviously nobody's ever lived in this area during an eruption of Mount Rainier. Also, Mount Rainier lately, and so you might hear me using this term interchangeably, Mount Rainier is obviously the anglicized name of or the Anglo name, not even anglicized, name of the mountain. the natives of the area used to call it Tahoma, which is where the city of Tacoma gets its name, because in Tacoma, Mount Rainier is looming over that city, basically. But Tahoma, so if you ever hear me say Tahoma in reference to a volcano, I'm talking about Mount Rainier. I'm trying to get more used to, I'm trying to get in the habit of using the native-inspired terms, just like that one mountain up in Alaska that is now Denali, but it used to be called something else. It used to be called McKinley. Now it's Denali. I have a very strong feeling that Mount Rainier is going to be getting the similar treatment in the next 20 or so years, and we're going to officially change its name to Tahoma. And so I'm just trying to get used to that. And yes, indeedly do. Tacoma is Grit City. Tacoma is an older city. It has some old city charm still. And as I've had to explain to many people who move to Seattle who ask, why doesn't Seattle have very many bad neighborhoods? And pretty much everybody in Seattle has the same response. That's what Tacoma's for. And I know that's a horrible, horrible thing, but it's basically kind of true. That's what Tacoma's for. They have all the bad neighborhoods. That being said, my best friend lives in Tacoma, my coworker lives in Tacoma, and if I didn't live here, I would be living in Tacoma too. So I'm not bad-mouthing the city. I'm just letting you know what the city is. And Thomas the Turtle is so happy that you could be here. And it looks like Shock got in here too. Her dinner with her dog sitter for when she's going to Thailand must have gone well. And Mama Sean, you obviously remember the eruption because yes, you and Dr. Steve had just gotten married the month before. Right. And Thomas the Turtle, you love the song. Nothing to do with the dish sukiyaki. I know exactly what song you're referring to. Listening to a Lono music tune, I believe off of Old Style 8, called Sukiyaki. It also has another name, but I don't remember what it is, so I'm not going to tell you. And Terry in Scotland coming in. Mount Rainier, also known as Tahoma, is a large, active stratovolcano in the Cascade Range of the Pacific Northwest in the United States. The mountain is located in Mount Rainier National Park, about 59 miles southeast of Seattle, with a summit elevation of 14,399.6 feet. It's the highest mountain in the U.S. state of Washington, the most topographically prominent mountain in the contiguous United States, and it's the tallest in the Cascade Volcanic Arc. The Cascade Volcanic Arc, by the way, is exactly what I was talking to you about with all the lines of the volcanoes in the state of Washington. But that line actually goes down through Oregon and into Northern California, ending, I believe, with Mount Shasta. And so there's Mount Hood in Oregon. There's whatever that mountain is in Bend, Oregon, with Crater Lake. There's basically, it's kind of disturbing if you look at a map and just see all of these white dots in an absolute line, and it's just like, well, there's some tectonic plate action going on right there. Yeah, so, and you came of age in Tacoma. Yes, you did. And, yeah, it is an old pulp mill city, although actually, speaking of old pulp mill cities, so was some of the cities that they mentioned in that, what is that, Smell video? Longview, Kelso, Kalama, Vancouver, Washington, all of these had paper mills, which is why that one lady pointed out it wasn't a paper mill sludge smell. It was more ammonia than paper mill sludge. Those people know what paper mill sludge smells like. That is what they used to do in that area. And let's see here. Yes, that's the title, Thomas. Those words that I'm not gonna say. And exactly, Picolati, it looks like the line where the coast will fall into the Pacific. Yeah, exactly. And Shock, we have a paper mill around here. Yeah, if y'all haven't smelled a paper mill smell, you're lucky, because paper mills, I honestly don't remember. I remember when I was a child going to Vancouver, British Columbia, and driving from Linwood basically up I-5. And up in Everett, there was the paper mills, and it stunk so badly. And then the next super stinky spot was up in Linden, Washington, where all the cow pastures were. And quite honestly, I would choose the stench of the cow pastures and the cow barns and the manure and the urine over the paper mill sludge any day. Any day. And was the volcano smell thing there over the weekend? No, it was last Tuesday, not yesterday Tuesday, but last Tuesday. And let's see here. Are there many military bases up that way? Oh, good Lord, sweet summer child. That's all Washington is known for these days is Army and Navy and Air Force and Marine bases. Yes, we got plenty. We got one of the biggest nuclear stockpiles in the entire world at Subbase Bangor in Kitsap County. Kitsap County is full of at least 4 different military bases. Then Whidbey Island's got the Naval Air Station, and then Everett's got a Marine and a Navy station. And then Tacoma's got the Joint Base Lewis McChord with the Army and Air Force. And then there's Yakima Training Camp for the Army. And these are just the ones off the top of my head. Yeah, we got a fork ton of military up here. Most of the military bases that were closed in, say, Northern California, their operations got moved to the Puget Sound area. Puget Sound area, very, very heavily armed, huge military presence. Seattle is probably one of the only cities in the Puget Sound area that doesn't have a large military presence. Everett up north, built around the military. Tacoma down south, not built around the military, but huge military. Bremerton wouldn't exist without the military. So yeah, definitely huge amounts of military presence up in my neck of the woods. I grew up in Bremerton, major military town with Marines, Air Force, and Navy basically, and I really am glad to not live in that kind of community anymore, because every 3 years your entire city changes. You really have very few locals. The communities might, the cities might be 40,000 big, but only 15,000 people live there all the time. The other 25,000, they're gone in 3 years. So you will literally go into your Safeway one day and be like, I don't recognize anybody who works here anymore, because the last ship left and the new ship came in and they've rehired the entire store. And it's just, I just don't like it. I don't like it. And let's see here, Mariana, I don't know about moving to Washington, but I can't wait to visit. We'll hopefully visit. Let's see here, my brother-in-law near Christmas. What are some must-see things? So it sounds like, Mariana, that your brother-in-law is in the Vancouver, Washington area. So you're probably, if that's the case, you're probably going to want to explore Portland as a big city more than Seattle. It's much closer. However, yes, Mama Sean, Seattle used to have Sandpoint and Fort Lawton in Seattle. Yeah, they don't anymore. Fort Lawton, I believe, is now Discovery Park on Magnolia, and then Sandpoint is Magnuson Park. In fact, Magnuson Park is where Rat City Roller Girls used to have a lot of their bouts. And yeah, Verity, that can't be good on a kid. No, it really isn't. It's and also it's really got to be. It is hard for the Navy kids too. They're moving schools every 3 years, and then the local kids like me. It's like, oh, my best friend. Well, it was best friends for 3 years. See you later. Blah blah blah. It's very hard to build a community when 2/3 of the community aren't really part of the community at all. They're literally just transients. And I don't mean transients like homeless people. I mean transients like they're just temporarily here, and they still have their voter registration in their home state. They're not voting in our elections. They have no stake in the future of our state. They're not going to be here beyond 3 years. So, it's kind of annoying. But Mariana, if you do have an opportunity and you're coming near Christmas time, This is not going to be an easy trip. This will be a multi-day event, but you want to go to Leavenworth, Washington. Leavenworth, Washington is in the mountains in the northern part of Washington. It's not near where you're at. I'm not going to lie. It's not near where you're going to be. If you're going to be in Vancouver, Washington, that is, it's really not going to be near you. But that's okay. You live in Florida, so what you need to do, if you can, is go to Leavenworth, Washington during the holiday season. It's a Bavarian-themed town. It's like old little Germany. I mean, it is like being in Germany, people have told me. The style, houses, the whole nine. And it's Pukola tea. Leavenworth is so pretty. It's pretty busy with Oktoberfest right now. Very busy with Oktoberfest because it is a German town. But during the Christmas season, the entire town, it becomes like Christmasville, USA. They've got a tree lighting ceremony every night. It's super snowy. It's the epitome of holiday, Christmassy, snow, mountain. And I really think that for someone who's from Florida to go and experience, I mean, first off, actually, literally people from all over the country go and visit Leavenworth. But I really think that you might think that Leavenworth is a super cute experience to experience. Now, if you're not going to be in Vancouver, Washington, let me know, and I can definitely give you some other pointers. Oh, your great-great-grandparents are Bavarian? That's a must-do then. Oh, yeah, absolutely, dude. No, really, you really, and let's see here. I think Terry, I think you did spell it right. I think it's spelled Leavenworth, and the way Terry in Scotland spelled it. But do a YouTube search on... Do a Google search on it, and you'll just be like, I'm like a kid in Christmas because Santa's gonna appear in this town. I mean, it's a darling little town. It is. I mean, it's a touristy town. But it's a darling little town. So if it's during Christmas time that you're gonna be here, that's, I think, my number one suggestion. Let me think on some other things for you to do. One thing I can tell you though is, while Leavenworth might have, a lot of snow and stuff, we're generally, we don't have a lot of snow in the Western Washington area during December generally. So you're going to want to have gear for wet and cold, not necessarily snow gear, but wet and cold. So like rain jackets, things like that. When you come up here, don't forget a waterproof jacket. Like, I can't emphasize that enough. I cannot emphasize that enough. All right, so we're sitting here talking about mountains. We're sitting here talking about Mount St. Helens and volcanoes, etc., etc. And okay, Pukola tea. Yeah, lots more activities around Leavenworth beyond the Bavarian Village these days. Lots of outdoorsy stuff. Yeah, really, you want to go to Leavenworth for a couple of days for a couple reasons. First off, it's gonna take you. It's gonna take you a minute to get there. It's not just an hour away from where you're going to be. But also because there is other stuff to do in the area. Exactly. But so, you guys, since we've been talking about mountains and volcanoes and things, of course, what did I have to do? I had to figure out what Lono music would go with that. And the one that's popped into mind was Leahi, which is a song about Diamond Head, because Leahi is the local native term, the Hawaiian term for Diamond Head. Diamond Head, of course, is a volcanic crater, so therefore, the song we must listen to today is Lono's Leahi. So here we go. It is time for our Lono listening break.
Leahi. hila hila uhe uhene o ka ale kai mamala uhe uhene Malama pono e uhe uhe nei ka poe pele uhe uhe ne o ele kaua lai lai la uhe uhe ne Malama pono e uhe uhe nei ka poe pele uhe uhe ne o ele kaua lai lai la uhe uhe ne Ka poi kaulana uhe uhe ne kaui kanuku uhe uhe ne na ole ne I kamoana e uhe ne Ka poi kaulana uhe uhe ne kaui kanuku uhe uhe ne na ole ne I kamoana uhe uhe ne Haina, uhe uhe ne mai ka puana, uhe uhe ne ka poe kaulana kau ka nuku, uhe uhe ne. Haina, uhe uhe ne mai ka puana, uhe uhe ne ka poe kaulana kau ka nuku, uhe uhe ne.
All right, so Verity. First off, Mama Sean. Actually, I want to talk to Mama Sean. Thank you so much for continuing on with what we tell outsiders. Yes, it's always rainy here. Always rainy. But that's not really true. But before I get more into that, I'm going to say, hey, Devin, so good to see you. So glad you could pop in for a second. But there is an element of truth. It does have a tendency to rain all the time here. Any month it could rain. July is our driest month. June can be a hit or miss. But July and August are generally our driest months. I've generally noticed in regards to the hardcore, dark, cold, wet season, right around October 15th is when the fall rains start. And October 15th through, July 5th is kind of our rainy season. So, now, when I say our rainy season, 55 and raining every holiday. For the most part, that's true. I mean, yeah, because summer doesn't start till July 5th, because July 4th it almost always rains. But the thing is the way it rains here is a little bit different than the way it rains in other places. It's not that it's always raining. What it is it's always overcast. It always looks like it might rain. It's always raining a little bit, like just sprinkles here and then not, and then a little more sprinkles, and then some pitter patters. But the chances of an actual rain downpour, the way it like rains when it rains places, we don't get that a lot here. We're getting it more than we used to, but I remember when I was in college, a lot of people from out of state, after they spent some time at Evergreen, they were like, it's really weird. You hear how it always rains in Washington. They're like, but it never rains in Washington. It always sprinkles. It always mists. It always lightly rains, but it never really rains. It drizzles constantly. It's really gray more than it is rain. And is it ever warm enough to swim at the beaches? Oh, sweet summer child, you so cute and funny. Is it warm enough on land? Oh, heck yes. Is the water warm enough to go swimming in? No. The water in the Puget Sound is almost always between 53 and 58 degrees, no matter what the temperature is. And then the water off of the Pacific coast, also super cold. Generally, anybody who goes surfing there, the super cold and super rough. You really don't go swimming on the coast at all. You maybe go surfing on the coast, but if you go surfing, you're always in some kind of a wetsuit. There's no shorts and a rash guard gear. You're in some kind of a wetsuit. Most of the time in the summer, it's a half wetsuit or whatever, but you are definitely in a wetsuit. So it doesn't always rain, but it always mists, or it mists a lot, and generally you don't want to get into the water. I mean, if you like in the Puget Sound during this hot thing, you might get like knee deep in the water and you're good, but it's not warm enough to spend a lot of time swimming. And that was a huge difference you noticed even in Hawaii. The water was way colder than the beaches here. Yeah, and a part of that reason I think is because the beaches on the Gulf Coast are so sandy and shallow. They stay shallow for the water stays shallow and over sand that's able to warm in the sun much more. The ocean gets really deep really fast off of the shores of Hawaii, Washington coast, Puget Sound. Actually, you can be 50 feet offshore and be in 800 feet of water. And so the water never has an opportunity really to warm up. Now, there is a place, it's a very unusual place. It's called Qualicum Beach, and it's north of here. It's on Vancouver Island, and it's on the interior passageway between, Vancouver Island is an island off of British Columbia, Canada. And so in the channel of water between the island and British Columbia, there's a town called Qualicum Beach. And that beach is so shallow and so sandy that in the summertime, the waters there get to be over 70 degrees. So that area of salt water on the West Coast is actually quite swimmable. But that's in Canada. that's a literally like one town on a huge island has this one circumstance that allows for warm swimming, but not, you generally don't, you don't go to the beach to go in the water when you're here. Now, lake beaches, that's a different story entirely, but as far as saltwater beaches go, they're kind of chilly. And okay, Mama Sean comes in even with colder water than I thought it was. Puget Sound is 47 degrees, only varies by a few degrees. I thought it was like between 53 and 57, but she's coming in with 47. I don't really care who's right. I think we can all agree that 47, 53, 57, these are all too cold to be comfortable. Right? Right. And yeah, there you go, Miranda. The summer here, the ocean can feel like a warm bath. It's kind of gross and breeds all kind of algae and other organisms. Yeah, that is the one nice thing about the water up here. We very rarely have the salt water up here. We very rarely have the things that grow and ick. And Pennell, try the north part of Lake Superior. Ouch. I can only assume that she means ouch because it's so flippin' cold. And yeah, I don't do lake swimming, says Merida. I can appreciate that logic, and for the most part, I don't either. That being said, there are some lakes that aren't... Ew. Some lakes that have like the gravel bottom, like they're clear, they're not full of squish at the bottom. Some lakes are swimmable, but yeah, as for the most part, I don't really like to do lakes either. It's gotta be a very, very specific lake for me to go in a lake. And yes, Mama Sean, I'm not surprised that Dr. Steve used to scuba in the Sound. Crazy man. Actually, scuba diving in the Sound is a hugely popular adventure for lots of people. Puget Sound was one of Jacques Cousteau's favorite places to scuba dive because you could go so deep without having to go very far offshore. Like I said, you could be 50 feet off the shore and be in 800 feet of water. And so you get to see, deep sea creatures without having to travel to the deep sea. We've got the largest, the Pacific octopus, I think is the largest octopus in the world. They thrive in the depths of the Puget Sound. And Pennell, you read that Lake Superior is really an inland sea, so big and deep. Yeah, I'm not surprised that it's considered that. I obviously don't know what the criteria are to be considered an inland sea, although inland sea I would assume also means that it's salt, but clearly it doesn't sound like it does need to be salt, because if they're considered an inland sea and it's fresh, then I guess I really don't know what I'm talking about. But all right, let's see here what's going on here. Terry was saying one winter here it snowed about 1.5 feet one night, and the council ran out of salt. We were all waiting for a barge full of salt to arrive from Chile. All right, fancy imported salt. And let's see here. Hold on. And okay, right. Yikes, Terry in Scotland, we've gotten some larger snowfalls too, right? Then everything shuts down until it gets cleared up to get out. Yeah, we when we have large snowfalls like this and like that in the Pacific Northwest, or in the Puget Sound area, that is, our cities aren't prepared for it. We don't have the supplies, we don't have the trucks, and so we have some, but we don't. But not like Chicago preps for the winter, right? Seattle doesn't have a reason to prep for the winter like Buffalo, New York, or Albany, New York has a reason to prepare for the winter. So we don't have the infrastructure. So when it's more than, I would say 6 inches deep, yeah, things definitely come to a grinding halt here. And frankly, with all of the hills and the people who just don't know how to drive in snow or think they do, it's probably best that things just get shut down around here. I mean, I drive in the snow sometimes. I have a Subaru, though. If I didn't have a Subaru, you better flip and flip and believe I would not be driving in the snow. And, Verity, are you in Minnesota? My sister's there. I don't understand. Old bones. No, I think Darlene isn't in Minnesota. That Ann Ware is in Minnesota. Darlene is much further south in Wisconsin. She's not further south at all. And Thomas, yeah, you used to worry about snow and driving it, but now that you work out of your home, I just worry about internet connectivity. Yep, exactly. And, right, exactly, Darlene. That's why I was sort of laughing. It's like, well, you're not in Minnesota, but you might as well be. Because, yeah, you're up close to Lake Michigan, and you get those lake-enhanced snows, too. Precisely. Exactly. Yeah. But it is, as someone pointed out, it's getting to be soup and stew season. So be sure to stock up on all your broths and your things. You can make some, yummy soups and stews, because it's getting a little chilly at night. I actually had to turn my heater on the other night. I was so cold. And Pinnell bragging, Toronto now has tons of snow equipment after the shame of getting the military to clear it one snowstorm. Yeah, that definitely would do it. I mean, are you kidding me? The military had to come do it. Oh, Toronto, it's not like you're a tiny town. Toronto, come on, take care of your own stuff. That's so funny. But I'm glad they finally got with the program, because I don't know, I was always under the impression that Toronto had cold winters. I didn't think that was like new news. And let's see here. And Thomas, yes, the thing about working remote is that it's portable. Pack it up and move south of the snow. If you want to, yes, you totally can. And what makes it Irish stew versus Hawaiian stew? I think the Irish stew has mutton and potatoes. And I don't know what Hawaiian stew is usually beef stew, isn't it? But actually, Terry can tell you better than me. Terry did recently tell me what Irish stew is, and I'm maybe making up the potato and mutton thing, but I don't think so. I think it's got potatoes and mutton and other stuff, but mutton, I think, is the key part to it, but I might be lying. Terry would know better. And you definitely need the right clothes, if you remember correctly. Yes. Former Northern gal, says Verity. Yes. I'm Irish, so any stew I make is Irish. Fair enough, fair enough. And let's see here. Yep, Irish stew has mutton, potatoes, peas, and carrots. There you go. And mutton, potatoes, peas, and carrots doesn't sound like much kind of a stew that you would get in Hawaii. And Darlene coming in, there's potatoes and carrots, if I remember correctly. I feel like most stews have potatoes and carrots. And Mariana, I don't know if my perfect idyllic place even exists. Somewhere warm in the spring, hot in the summer, sweater weather in the fall, and only snows around Christmas. Maybe northern Tennessee or something. Well, actually, Seattle almost has that-ish. I mean, it does usually snow around New Year's. And generally we don't have a lot of snow. But, the warm spring, that's a little iffy. And okay, so Shock is saying, can also have beef or lamb. The main thing is root vegetables and some kind of meat. That makes sense. Yeah, exactly, Devin. Sounds like Cali, but we don't have seasons and we have no snow. Yeah, so it doesn't sound anything like Cali then. Because she wants seasons and you have none. Plus, you have fires and earthquakes. And Darlene, some have squash. My son-in-law made a lamb stew with traditional onion, celery, etc. But it had squash in it. Interesting. All right. I don't know if you mean summer squash or winter squash, but I do know that we're getting to the time where it's time to harvest your winter squash, and I just found this out, you guys. Apparently some squash, like butternut and Hubbard squash, like acorn squash and delicata squash, this doesn't apply to. But the other squashes and pumpkins as well, apparently you're supposed to harvest the squash and then let the squash cure in 80 to 85 degrees for like 2 weeks. And then that hardens the rind. And then after the squash is cured, you then store them in the cool, dark 50 to 55 degree root cellar. So I was always under the impression that you just picked them and put them in the root cellar. But apparently you're supposed to cure your winter squash? Does anyone know about, does anyone know about this? And let's see here. An Italian woman told me she didn't understand why Americans put hamburger in spaghetti. She said in Italy they use lamb. This was in the bar in Hawaii in the early 70s. I actually don't know if they always use lamb. I think that different regions use different stuff. But I do know that a lot of Italian meat sauces actually call for veal, lamb, and pork, I think it is. It's a mixture of meats. But yeah, it's not, and if they do use beef, it's veal. It's not hamburger, it's veal. So yeah, I'm not surprised that that an Italian woman was being snobby about Americanized spaghetti, because Americanized spaghetti is not the same kind of spaghetti that they serve in Italy. In fact, and my boss was really offended when I told her this and she didn't believe it, but whatever. A lot of Italians from at least certain regions of Italy get supremely offended when they come to America and there's a heavy garlic presence in the spaghetti sauce. Spaghetti sauce is not supposed to have garlic in it at all, apparently. It's supposed to be tomatoes, onions, and maybe basil if you want to get exotic. But not a lot of basil, like one leaf. And so the presence and abundance of garlic in what Americans call Italian food, apparently is just like not the way a lot of real Italian people from Italy eat their food. And if you don't believe me, there's a couple on YouTube called Jesse and Alessio. Jesse is from America, Alessio's from Italy, and she likes to feed him all sorts of American, jarred spaghetti sauces, and he gets to rank them or whatever, and he will... Any episode of Jesse and Alessio where they talk about tomato sauce, you will hear all sorts of negativity about the garlic. The garlic. Too much garlic. The sofrito's all off. So much garlic. Overwhelming garlic. Too much garlic. And yeah, I know that's not an Italian accent. I don't sound anything like Alessio, but too much garlic. And let's see here. Terry in Scotland, the European Union outlawed veal along with capons, trying to find a bone-in steak in Scotland, not a T-bone to be had. Weird, dude. That's so bizarre, because in America, where's the beef? Beef, it's what's for dinner. And yes, actually, Mariana, if you want to have a funny episode of Jesse and Alessio, watch the episode where Jesse takes him to Olive Garden, and that's all I'm gonna say. Oh my. And Verity, you don't understand how they can call it shepherd's pie without using lamb. I mean, it's shepherd's. Well, Most people don't know that, actually. Because generally, when people say, I made shepherd's pie, my first question out of my mouth is always, with beef or lamb? And they look at me like, what a weird question. And inevitably, they're like, well, beef. And I'm like, then it's cottage pie. Oh, you know what I mean. And it's like, well, no, actually, shepherd's pie has lamb. That's why it's called shepherd. But I really don't think that most people know or understand that differentiation. Shepherd's pie is just stew with mashed potatoes on top, for the most part, to most Americans. But I agree with you. It's not a shepherd's pie unless it's mutton or lamb, y'all. This is how it works. And let's see here. Prostitution. Well, yeah, there is the pasta alla puttanesca. And I do believe it does have some garlic. It's also got some anchovies, and I believe it's got some capers, and I believe it's got some olives. It's got a lot of real strong flavors. But let's see here. Verity, that's cowboy pie. Okay, you call cottage pie cowboy pie or whatever. Interesting, I've never heard that. And Mariana, I'm not very cultured. I didn't know people ate lamb until a few years ago. Oh, honey bunches, apparently lamb is really good and super popular and super expensive. I myself have never had it because it kind of freaks me out. I don't know why it freaks me out. I eat deer, I eat venison, I eat moose, I eat elk, I eat beef, I eat chicken, I eat pork, I eat fish. Why eating lamb, the idea kind of freaks me out, I don't know. But it does. But I hear it's really good. I hear it's really good. And yes, mutton is older sheep. Yeah. Well, I thought mutton was just any sheep that wasn't a lamb anymore. I have had mutton. I didn't know I was eating mutton until after, I have had mutton. And it's meat. It's greasy meat that really just sort of sits like a lump in my stomach. It was not... I ate it, and I was like, I feel like I like it, but then by the time I got to the end of the shish kebab, I was like, I don't know if I like this anymore. So, I'm gonna finish it, but I don't really know if I like it. And then a few hours later, I was like, oh, I really don't know if I like it. I mean, I ate it, and I'd probably eat it again, but just less. Ooh, yeah. Terry in Scotland, you're amazed by how many Americans are unfamiliar with mutton. Oh yeah, dude, mutton is just not... Mutton and goat are just two things that we don't eat a lot here. There are some restaurants in Burien that serve goat. There's a Vietnamese restaurant, there's an Ethiopian restaurant, there's an Indian restaurant. They have goat on the menu. But yeah, there's a lot of meats around here that we just, we're chicken, pork, and beef here in this country, I guess. And Darlene, lamb has a different taste, but I did like it. We had it only a couple times. We noticed it more available here recently. And Nell, you've had goat, but not mutton. Okay. Yeah, I've never had goat either. I don't know. I don't know if I would. It freaks me out, sort of like the whole lamb thing. And Verity, you grew up on lamb, fish, and hot dogs. And there we go. Thomas and Turley buy frozen halal goat and cook the hell out of it to get it tender. Curry goat stew. All right, that makes sense. And Miranda, look, I'm finishing up school so that I can finally make money and afford to travel and learn about food. Right now, most of your international knowledge comes from Epcot. Well, hey, you got to start somewhere. And Epcot's always a good place to be like, wow, this intrigues me. I want to learn more about this place. And then you actually can go to the real place instead of the Epcot place. And, wow, Darlene, you even had turtle stew Rick's brother made once. It was actually quite delicious. And the light that keeps calling me. Yeah, I feel like I'd have to. I honestly don't know how I feel about eating turtle. I can honestly say I just don't have any idea. I feel like eating turtle is on the same desire level as eating gator. I might want to try a bite out of curiosity, but I just don't know. I just don't know. Yeah. And Verity, you have to get the New Zealand lamb. Domestic lamb does taste different. I have heard that. I wonder why New Zealand lamb, is it a different variety of lamb? You know, different species of sheep or whatever? Because I keep hearing that it is, New Zealand lamb is like the bomb. If you're going to, if you're gonna get it, that's what you want. And Mama Sean Gator's good. And Darlene, a huge snapper turtle a friend of his caught and butchered. That just seems scary to catch a snapping turtle. I mean, they're big and they can chop your fingers off, dude. But yeah, okay, all right, there you go. And Pinnell, yeah, your mother always had lamb for Easter dinner. Yeah, lamb is totally something that is very common, and a properly seasoned leg of lamb served with mint jelly is quite good, says Terry. Whenever I think of leg of lamb, I always think of an episode of MASH where the Greek troops that were at MASH for whatever reason had a lamb brought in to be butchered for Easter, for the Easter dinner, and Radar was having none of it, and so he stole the lamb, and I don't know what Radar did with the lamb, but he stole the lamb, and then they just had to make a leg of lamb with Spam, and people were not happy because everyone was really looking forward to the leg of lamb with mint jelly, because apparently mint jelly is a thing. I don't even know, what is mint jelly? What is mint jelly? All I can think of with mint jelly is, and I know this isn't it, but you know jalapeno jelly that you like put on cream cheese and dip with crackers? That's when people say mint jelly, that's just what I envision. And Verity, my sister who's tried gator says that it's kind of a cross between fish and chicken. But I that's all I can speak of it. It's secondhand news. Because I'd never tried it. And it's very much just chicken, in your opinion. Gator bites dipped in ranch is your favorite. There you go. Pinnell, your mother made mint jelly, lots of mint in your yard. So what is mint jelly? I mean, I guess I know what it is. It's jelly made of mint, right? I mean, right? Is it sugary? Is it sweet? Is it green? Is it clear? Is it... I don't know, dude. Verity says that you can try the lamb with a bit of rhubarb jam. And to me, rhubarb jam seems way more like a flavor profile I'd want to eat with meat than mint. So, Terry, mint jelly is green and tastes like mint. What else can I say? Okay, so I guess maybe it does sound like it looks an awful lot like the jalapeno jellies that I've seen. Just probably doesn't taste like them. Okay, you know, I'm gonna have to... I know, Devin, right? Rhubarb jam, I've never heard of such, and I want all of it. I know, right? That's what I was just thinking. I was like, what is this rhubarb jam that you speak of? Because I feel like I might need that. And it's not as sweet as fruit jellies. Okay. Yeah, okay. And apparently Darlene knows what rhubarb jam's all about because she got a huge rhubarb plant in her yard. And Thomas, bragging, I had strawberry rhubarb jam with toast this morning. That sounds tasty. And it's an East Coast thing, rhubarb jam. Yeah, I guess. Strawberry rhubarb I've heard of plenty times. I've never heard of just rhubarb. And, all right, it's getting late here over there in the Florida coast. You got homework to finish. But thank you for providing me with a nice mental break. I had fun, Matt Satter. How often do you stream? Mariana, I stream Wednesdays and Sundays, 5 p.m. West Coast time. And then we're back to doing some movies on my Twitch channel, Saturdays, 6 p.m. things are a little bit different, but if you show up to the Mad Statter Twitch channel Saturdays between 6 and 6:15 p.m. West Coast time, that is where we're going to have movies. We're not going to have the movie on that channel. We're going to raid out to a different channel for the movie. But if you come to the Mad Statter Twitch channel, we will all take a Secret Squirrel bus ride together to where the movie is actually showing. Which, by the way, that information is for all of you as well, not just Mariana. This Saturday, we're going to be watching The Big Lebowski. So come over to my Twitch channel, Mad Statter's Twitch channel, 6 p.m. West Coast time on Saturday, and we will be raiding out either to Terry's channel, Terry and Scotland's channel, or Shock's channel. Quite honestly, I haven't figured that part out yet for this particular week. But that is the plan of action, and we've got about 3 minutes left, so instead of a 2-minute warning, we're going to have a 3-minute warning, and I guess it's time to just wrap everything up. So today we talked about stinky stuff, and we talked about exploding stuff, and we talked about minty stuff, and we talked about why lamb is lammy, or something like that. And let's see here, Thomas bragging about how he loves the dude who does abide, precisely. The dude in general, the dude is featured heavily in The Big Lebowski, and we will see just how much he abides. So, okay, let's see here. I want to do what Lady Missy just did, which is say thank you, mods, for modding. Thank you, everyone, for the chat. Thank you for subbing and gift subbing. I don't think we had any of that today because Andre wasn't here, but we might have had people resubbing, in which case, thank you so much. And, but mostly, just thanks so much for hanging out, you guys. I love that we've got this regular group of people, and then people can pop in by surprise, like Devin and Mariana. And so, super, super stoked we got to hang out together. We will see each other on Sunday, I hope. Perhaps we will see each other on Saturday as well. All right, so we're going to cut it 1 minute short, I guess. Thanks so much for hanging out. We'll see y'all soon. Have a